Once upon a time, Europe was ruled by a king who feared a single careless touch more than any army. Not because he was weak, but because he believed with every beat of his heart that his body was not flesh and bone, but glass. So clear, so fragile, so close to shattering forever. This is the true story of King Charles VI of France, the man who ruled an empire, while believing he could break at any moment. Charles was crowned king in 1380, at just 11 years old. France was wounded by war, drowning in political chaos, and desperately hungry for stability. By the time Charles grew into adulthood, he became known as Charles the Beloved. The people adored him. He was handsome, charming, and hopeful, a rare light in a dark kingdom. But fate was already sharpening its knife. It began subtly, sudden fits of confusion, moments where Charles stopped recognizing faces he'd known his entire life. Then came the day everything shattered. In the summer of 1392, while riding through a forest in blazing heat, King Charles suddenly drew his sword and attacked his own men. He killed several knights before he could be restrained. When it was over, the king collapsed, unrecognizable to himself and terrifying to his court. The episodes continued. Sometimes he couldn't remember his name. Sometimes he believed his wife was an imposter. Sometimes he thought he was completely alone in a world full of people. And then, the glass. Charles became convinced that he was slowly turning into crystal, that his ribs were panes, that his legs were delicate columns, that a single collision could destroy him forever. He refused to be touched, refused to move suddenly, refused to sit like a normal man. Instead, iron rods were sewn into his clothes to keep his glass body from bending too much. Chairs were padded, rooms were cleared, servants whispered. Because a king who believes he is glass does not sleep easily. He walked like a man crossing a battlefield of invisible minds. Every step measured, every breath tense. Even his laughter, they say, looked cautious, like it might crack him from the inside. But here's the twist. Charles wasn't alone. Across Europe in the Middle Ages, others suffered the same belief. Scholars later called it Glass Delusion. People truly believed they were made of glass, fragile, transparent, and dangerously breakable. And in a world obsessed with purity, reflection, and fragility, glass wasn't just a substance. It was a symbol. To Charles, being glass didn't mean shiny beauty. It meant terror. It meant weakness. It meant living one heartbeat away from extinction. Behind the velvet curtains and golden halls, France was ruled by a king trapped inside his own mind. While enemies moved and politics burned, Charles sat wrapped in padding, fearful that standing too quickly might end existence itself. Eventually, his illness consumed him entirely. France began calling him by another name, not Charles the Beloved, but Charles the Mad Power drained into the hands of others. Civil war followed. The monarchy cracked from the inside, slowly, like fractured glass. And the man who once ruled France ended his days afraid of touch, afraid of sound, afraid of air. When Charles died in 1422, he left behind more than a throne. He left behind a chilling truth. A crown does not protect the mind. Power cannot silence thought. And even kings can break in ways no one can see. So remember this. Next time you see a ruler standing tall behind medals and banners, the greatest battles aren't always on fields. Sometimes they happen inside the skull. If you enjoyed this strange, haunting story, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the channel, because history isn't just made of wars and crowns. It's made of broken thoughts, wrapped in gold,